Departing from developer Brace Yourself Games' usual dungeon-crawling discotheques, Rift of the NecroDancer is a more traditional rhythm game that innovates on some of the genre's best ideas. With a foot-tappingly entrancing soundtrack from a team of talented composers, its creative riffs on stalwart rhythm game modes from classics like Guitar Hero and Rhythm Heaven make it a sort of greatest hits box set for rhythm games as a whole. Even when it occasionally goes off-tempo, it's hard to put Rift of the NecroDancer down as you squash slimes and skeletons while bobbing your head along to its pulsing beats, always driving toward a bit. Before you can even start fighting monsters, Rift of the NecroDancer gives you all the tools you need to succeed. First, it tests your setup to determine your video and audio delay so you don't fall victim to the possible milliseconds of pause between your headphones, inputs, or certain displays that could make or break a high-score attempt. This level of accommodation goes a long way towards removing unnecessary barriers to entry, making it clear that your success will always be determined by your own ability rather than seemingly arbitrary variables beyond your control. It's a subtle but appreciated touch. After a brief tutorial, you can then either run wild in Rift of the NecroDancer's 35-song tracklist or hop into its story campaign that sees series protagonist Cadence and her friends transported from the world of Crypt of the NecroDancer into one resembling our own. This makes for some cheeky fish-out-of-water moments about reckoning with how a person from a fantasy world would react to the woes of day-to-day modern life.
Toodles!
But it mostly just serves as a vehicle for Rift of the NecroDancer's main mode, Rhythm Riffs. Rhythm riffs will look familiar to anyone who has shouldered stringless plastic guitars to rock out to licensed music in Guitar Hero. Enemies come down 3 lanes, each linked to a directional input. Every beat of the current song brings them one step further, and when they line up with a marker at the bottom, you need to press a button in the corresponding direction to squash them in their tracks. It's a simple but engaging setup. Unlike the notes in rhythm games like Rock Band, however, most monsters don't just sit and wait for their turn on the way down to you. From the red harpy, which rushes you down quickly but folds in one hit,
just like how we do it back home,
to the black skeleton, which takes 2 hits before running back up the lane to go down again, rhythm riffs aren't only about hitting the right button on the beat. Instead, Rift of the NecroDancer keeps you on your toes by throwing legions of varied enemy types at you. It makes each song take on an almost bullet hell-like feeling as you do your best to keep the bad guys from getting past you.
Now we're talking.
This clever marriage of Crypt of the NecroDancer's monster-bashing roots with Guitar Hero's tried-and-true formula brings some fun evolution to well-worn territory. Mix in challenging surprises, like traps that alter how some monsters attack or move, and Rift of the NecroDancer will keep you in that idyllic intensity between a blissful, glazed-eye flow and frantically trying to regain your footing as you get beaten down by the beat. And if you do find yourself swimming in monsters, you'll eventually get knocked out and need to try the song over again.
No way.
Thankfully, most songs will feed you healing items in the form of food to keep you in the fight for longer. And once you hit a long enough combo streak, you can also fill up a meter to activate Vibe Power, which makes Cadence invincible for a brief period.
Skillfully done!
It's a helpful get-out-of-jail-free option if you need to keep your head above water during a tough riff.
Eyes on me.
Rift of the NecroDancer also features minigames that feel ripped right out of Rhythm Heaven, down to their cute art style and cheeky animations. These offer fun, less involved diversions from the intense rhythm riffs, each situated at some point within the story mode. They range from hitting yoga poses with Crypt of the NecroDancer's playable pacifist dove, to helping out the NecroDancer himself during a lunch rush at his fast food day job.
excellent.
And just like rhythm riffs, all 5 of these minigames have extra objectives to grind for, giving them some decent replayability, though not quite as much due to their limited selection and simpler gameplay. Still, a particular highlight has to be this funny looking minigame where Cadence dresses up as a giant mole for a children's TV show and has to dance to a rap about moles.
Okay kids, gather round, check this groove out that I found.
Throughout the course of the story, you'll also take on a handful of boss battles. These stages nicely shake things up again, kind of resembling a pared-back version of Elite Beat Agents with a little bit of punch-out thrown in for good measure. Circles will pop up and require you to press a specific corresponding button just as a ring touches the outside of them. Purple buttons have you dodging a boss's attack, while gold ones are opportunities for Cadence to strike back. These fights are super well animated and universally boast some great tracks that are worth the price of admission already. But the actual action, offers something distinct enough from the other two modes to bring me back on its own. That's partially because score and rank here are based on how quickly you can take down your foe. Perfect hits still are as crucial as ever, but they're a little easier to land, moving success away from timing alone. Instead, these boss fights put a focus on pattern recognition, with each boss having specific cycles that can make it easier or harder to win a fight quickly depending on how and when you strike.
It's got be.
This unexpected mashup of styles represents exactly what makes Rift of the NecroDancer such a great sampler platter of rhythm game modes that still consistently innovates on what's already been done. Taking a wider scope pays dividends by giving you more to choose from. For something chill and casual, try out a minigame. For a more conventionally intense, arcade-like experience, try to best your scores in rhythm riffs. Or if you want something a bit more out there, the boss battles provide a different enough flow. This pick-and-choose smorgasbord of different options is great, but the wider scope does trade in the laser-focused, album-like nature of previous NecroDancer games for the piecemeal nature of a greatest hits box set. Although each song is masterfully composed and designed into compelling, memorable fights, Rift of the NecroDancer as a full package is missing a sense of cohesion at times, prioritizing a wide berth of ideas and choices rather than one singularly sharpened direction.
Yeah, you did alright.
Similarly mimicking box sets and best of compilations, it is positively packed with cool features and extras. Each song has a special challenge attached to it, ranging from only counting perfect notes towards your score to sudden death challenges that only give you 1 HP.
Oh, tough break.
And if you've already mastered one of your favorite songs, but want to keep trying for a higher score, each track has a remix version with different monster patterns. And if that still wasn't enough for you, Rift of the NecroDancer's community has already created a handful of custom songs in the Steam Workshop for you to download. It's so cool to see such in-depth support for a game like this at launch, and it's fun to dive into fan-made takes on other video game bangers like Megalovania from Undertale. Of course, Rift of the NecroDancer's baked-in songs are incredible on their own. Without this exceptional soundtrack, everything else would fall apart, no matter how enthralling the design. Standouts include a bluesy homage to chess records called King's Ruse, and Progenitor, a metal ballad that remixes Crypt of the NecroDancer's theme. As the beating heart of Rift of the NecroDancer, this soundtrack delivers diverse, catchy tunes that give you a reason to feverishly grind for a better score as you bob your head to the beat, whether you're squashing monsters, fighting bosses, or doing yoga.
3 and 2 and 1, let's go! And breathe in.
You could wear out your keyboard slapping arrow keys to the beat and jamming in your seat to Rift of the NecroDancer's excellent soundtrack, fervently chasing down a perfect run of a song for hours. Whether you're fighting stuffy puppet masters, rhythmically ridding the world of monsters, or just waddling around in a silly mole costume, it provides many excellent flavors of arcade-style rhythm action. Even though this greatest hits anthology isn't as focused or earth-shattering as Brace Yourself Games' genre-bending debut album, it still continually surprises and delights by providing clever twists on time-tested mechanics. For more, check out our reviews of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD or Eternal Strands. And for everything